Hey, Mandy, do you agree that kids make you cuss? Okay, I'm just making sure.
right. Hello. Hello. Is this, do I have it on? Good evening. I'd like to call the Soltrans Public Advisory Committee meeting to order. Are there any members who have a statement of conflict? Okay. Madam Clerk, will you please confirm a quorum?
Thank you, Chair Burnett. We do have a quorum.
Okay.
Statement of conflict on what, baby?
Statement of conflict is part of the agenda. If there's anything on the agenda that would pose a conflict of interest for you, say you had a financial or personal investment in that item, you could not discuss it. You would have to recuse yourself to the conference room after the board
This time.
committee voted. Okay.
Okay. Unless there are any amendments, I will move for the approval of the agenda. Oh, please.
The only thing that I would say is maybe we want to move the action item down just in case. Who's missing that, Joa?
Joa.
Yeah, so that she could vote on the action item. But, you know, it's up to the committee and you.
Second.
Second.
So you're second staying with it, right?
Yeah.
Because that was Ginger's motion. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So we have a second, first and second. Yes. Okay.
Dan made the motion and
Shelby.
Tom made the second, so we will hold the action item to give.
No. That's not what Tom was seconding, I don't think. Tom was seconding, I think, Ginger's motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to change?
No, I didn't make a
Okay.
motion. I just put it out there for
okay.
discussion.
Well, I'll make the motion.
No, she made it and you seconded it. We're already past that. I'm dust in the wind.
Chair doesn't normally make the motion. but that's
Not
okay.
normally, no.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay.
Make sure you use your mic, Mr. Bertie.
Okay. Do we need to have a motion to move the agenda item, or?
We would have to, but it's not like mandatory by any means. It just gives Joa a few more minutes
Well,
to.
I thought it was included in the motion to approve the agenda.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So,
That's fine with me if Ginger wants to amend her motion.
yes, I'd like to amend my motion to move the agenda item requiring action to the end so that Joe will have a chance to participate in that.
Right. So we go to the discussion items first instead of the action item.
All right, I'll second the motion as amended.
Thank you.
Now we vote.
So can we have a
The public
vote?
comment.
Oh, well, we didn't vote on that.
Do we need to vote?
Oh, no, you don't have to vote on the agenda.
Oh.
It's not required.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, great, thank you. All right, well then the revised agenda is approved as amended. So now we'll move to opportunity for public comment. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on any matter not on the agenda but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Soltrans PAC. Soltrans PAC welcomes public comments on matters within our jurisdiction and authority, but strongly denounces hate speech, obscenity, and disruptive behavior in meetings. Disruptive individuals will be admonished and removed from the meeting pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.95. We ask members of the public to ensure their remarks are within the jurisdiction of this committee and to refrain from making hateful or obscene comments. Manny, will you please start our sign-up clock for public comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I went ahead and started that 2-minute timer, which is reflected on the top left corner of your screens, for any interested parties to sign up for public comment. Given there are currently no members of the public either signed up or present on Zoom, feel free to carry on with the agenda, and at the conclusion of the timer, if anybody does sign up, I will be sure to let you know.
Thank you very much, Manny. Madam Clerk, do we need to read the public comment notice?
Yes, we do. Thank you. Members of the public wishing to speak may sign up at the kiosk in the back of the council chamber. Public attendees via Zoom may click the raise hand icon, and those attending by phone may press *9. After the 2-minute sign-up period, in-person speakers will be called to the microphone in registration order, followed by those wishing to comment via Zoom or phone.
Thank you. Trying to make sure I'm using this properly. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Okay, so we don't have anybody's. So I guess we'll move to the discussion items. The first informational item for discussion is 6A, System-Wide Comprehensive Operational Analysis, Draft Concepts and Public Comment Period. Do we have any PAC member comments on 6A?
Chair Mandy will do a presentation first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please, thank you. Would love that.
Thank you, Chair, members of the PAC. Next slide, please, Manny. One more. You're good. There we go. Excuse me. So public comment on our comprehensive operational analysis opened at the board meeting on the February 20th. And then those concepts were brought to the PAC at the February 26th PAC meeting held here. And we created these concepts based on existing analysis and our current current travel patterns within Solano County, really focusing on how Solano County residents are moving throughout the county and out of the county. And so those concepts are a reflection of all that data. And over the last, I can't do the math that quick, but about 80 days so far, we have been working within the public, with our community partners, with stakeholders, to get feedback, to see what the data was telling us, is that what's really happening out in the world, and how our writers are reacting to the concepts. Around the end of March, we thought we maybe bit off a little bit more than we could chew with closing public comment at the April board meeting. So at the April board meeting, we requested the board extend the public comment period to end at the May 15th board meeting. And that gave us an opportunity to reach out to the communities that their farmers markets hadn't opened up yet, and give us another opportunity to go out to those communities, as well as hold a stakeholder meeting in the northern part of the county for the Solano Express riders that don't really touch Vallejo or Benicia and only ride the Solano Express system in and out of the county outside of our kind of local area. So how did we do all this outreach? Next slide, please. We put it on board the buses, so there was QR codes, verbal announcement, and visual announcements on board in both English and Spanish on board all our buses, requesting people to give us feedback on our concepts that were out for the public. Next slide, please. Then we did, and are doing, quite a bit of digital outreach. We have Facebook posts, we have posts on the website, and as well as working with some of our partners at the news outlets to get it on their banners.
Mandy, your mic is muted. I'm sorry.
It just turns off on me. Sorry. And a wonderful article written in the Vallejo Sun regarding the concepts and requesting the public and engaging the public to come give us feedback.
Thank heaven for the Vallejo Sun.
And then we hosted the second stakeholder meeting here in Vallejo. We had about 21 attendees, and we went over really in-depthly about each of the concepts and got our stakeholders' feedback. And we had members from both City of Vallejo and City of Benicia, Solano Mobility, Supervisor Wilson's office, and Congressman Cabalden's representative came to that, as well as a lot of our operators and our transit operations staff. They bring such a great perspective to be engaging with our stakeholders to talk about these concepts and kind of what they might look like out in the community. One more, go back one more. We are hosting a second stakeholder meeting in the north part of the county, and we're engaging with all the stakeholders, Solano Community College, City of Vacaville, City of Fairfield, City of Dixon, their downtown districts, their farmers market districts, and those stakeholders we're having come to the North County stakeholder meeting. And then in-person outreach, when this slide was made, those are the routes that staff had ridden on. At this point, staff has ridden on all the routes, and some of them multiple times, getting outreach. That's Angel on board with all her outreach material and handing it out to the public. And we're continuing to ride throughout the duration until the May 15th close. And then our in-person outreach events. So including all of the onboard the bus and all of these outreach events that you see in front of you, we'll have held 70 outreach events just getting feedback for the COA, and about 80 hours of outreach staff time, and we've talked to over 1,000 people about these concept changes and talking them through how they use the system, how their travel pattern might change, or how new opportunities are now available to them because of these concept changes. So it's been a really great for us to be able to be in the community and talk to our writers and talk to new writers that now Soltrans might be an option for them because how we're realigning the system. And then finally, we have just a couple more outreach events. Manny, one more. Thank you. So staff will continue to ride the bus. On May 8th, we have that Solano Express themed COA workshop in the North County at the Vacaville U Lattice Community Center from 12:30 to 2:30. And then we have our second Friday event here at the Vallejo Transit Center on May 9th from 2 to 4:30. Same thing, we'll just be asking the community for their feedback, requesting feedback, and engaging with them about current service and how the service could be changing in the future. So going forward, what are the plans with the COA? So we will close the COA public comment at the May 15th board meeting. Because we're working with a consultant, they have all the survey results. We've been sharing the anecdotal summaries of responses, or if we've gotten emails or people have left comments on our website, we've compiled that and we're sending it to them. But they are doing the work to compile all of the comments, feedback, survey results. So we're going to close the public comment period, and then they're going to compile everything. They'll make an executive summary, but they'll also have all the raw comments. And that will be brought back to you guys this summer to review, and also to the board. After that's all been compiled and you guys have gotten to see it, during that same time, we'll be revising the concepts based on the feedback we get. Heard a lot about the Route 4. We hear you. There will be some changes in response to those comments. So we haven't looked at the comments. We haven't dived into them. We wanted a full, unbiased person looking at that, compiling that, and then bringing back the results to us, and then we'll revise the concepts based on what we heard from the public. That will come back to the PAC in the fall, and then your comments on those revisions will be discussed, incorporated, and then we'll bring back later in the fall the revised concepts to the board for final approval. Based on what they say, if it's like, you nailed it, sounds good, you're on the right track, we will start planning to implement those, but we won't do that until August 2026. I want enough time to build schedules. These are just concepts. These are lines on paper right now. I want nice, clean schedules that meet with BART, that meet at VTC, that meet with the Solano Express. Everything's nice and clean. And then I want a really nice, robust marketing outreach. Changes are coming. Here's the changes. Here's how your trip's going to happen. So we'll take the summer to get that outreach out. And then in the fall, when school starts, that's when we'll change the service to adapt to the new concepts, if they are approved. It all is based on your feedback as well as the Soltrans board's approval. So that is where we are with the COA. Personally, I'm very happy with the feedback we've received. We pushed the envelope a little bit to try to get some conversation, and I think it allowed us to start some hard conversations, that there will be trade-offs, but it allowed us to have this conversation. how late of service do you want? Here's the trade-off, and here's the things that we can do with the service. So we put some controversial stuff on there to spark that conversation, and I'm really happy with the feedback that we've received, just anecdotally that I've heard and working with the community. Myself with BB&B have done the majority of the outreach, so I've shaken a lot of hands, but no one has been terribly upset with us in these changes, which was a little surprising to me, beyond that Route 4 concept. It has been a really fun to be out in the community, engaging with our riders, engaging with non-riders. It's something, a lull that we had during the pandemic, and it just really felt good to be back out in the community and engage with them in this way, and kind of they're helping us build what transit's going to look like for Soltrans for the future. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Mandy. Do we have any PAC member comments? Yes, Member Burnett.
All right, thank you for the presentation. The stakeholder meetings. I noticed that there's a particular stakeholder that is not necessarily been properly represented, and that's the bus operators themselves. I'm aware that the bus operators do have a say in the COA. They're the ones that are on the ground that has to make the entire system work day in and day out. I know that the bus operators have their own views on the COA. I don't believe that their views were taken into account the first time several years ago. I think it's important that between now and May 15th, this board meeting, that you organize an effort at 1850 Broadway to get their point of view on the COA that may help in this process as well. So I'm hoping that that's what you're going to do between now and May 15th.
That town hall was held on March 16th. We had a driver town hall and went over in-depthly what the COA concepts were and got feedback. Also, operator representatives and union representatives were involved in both stakeholder meetings. So we have fully engaged with the operators, yes.
Yeah, I was hoping so, because from some of the bus operators, I'm friendly with, and they expressed, their apprehension of how it might affect them. And so I just wanted to put that out there that, yes, it's good that we're going to the public, farmers markets and this, that, and everything. But I think that's an important viewpoint that needs to be included in this process before May 15th board meeting.
Thank you. I think we have Member Barty next, and then you. Member Smith.
Mandy, you might want to look at page 24. It says Congressman Cabaldon, it should be Senator Cabaldon. Thank you.
Thank you. And Member Smith, please.
Okay. I also have a picayune correction. The Benicia newspaper isn't the Times Herald, it's just the plain Herald. But I'm curious about what you've heard, Richard. Mandy said that most of the feedback or significant degree of the feedback that she's received are about Route 4, which presumably is about the elimination of Route 4. I'd love to hear more detail from her, and I'm curious if the driver feedback you're hearing is mostly about 4.
No, it's about the entire system itself, because, the bus drivers, they, do all the routes, and they know what works and what does not work on each route, how it affects them, how it affects the passengers. Whether the bus is on time, it's not on time, passenger behavior, those sort of things. So, it makes sense that you get the bus operators' input, because we're not there every day, see how this thing works. They are. They know, they're the boots on the ground. They know how the system works and doesn't work, and how, you know, you would think you would include them as far as how to make things better.
Which Mandy indicates we have. They had a
Yeah.
town hall for them a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, their input is included. I don't think it was the last COA we did several years ago. I just wanted to make sure this time that their input is included, because I think they're a valuable resource.
Of course. And it was cool for a while when we had a driver on the committee, but that was only in the beginning, basically. I'm curious, like I said, Mandy, what are you hearing about 4? People don't want it eliminated, I presume.
I think the 2 locations that the Route 4 serves are major destinations, and
The courthouse and the Med Center.
correct, yeah. So that's,
Yeah, I mean, adding 5 minutes to get, of walking, to get to those places of crucial, citizenship
yeah.
is a tough, but how do we, I mean, maybe we don't know, maybe you don't know yet, but how would we respond to that? Because I know eliminating 4 was going to be a major cost saving for us.
Right. So the plan has local service ceasing at 10 p.m. So maybe local service ends at 9, and the Route 4 operates weekdays. And we did save some resources on the side to use and adapt for the revised plan. The whole idea was to be budget neutral. So when we built this, we saved some resources aside. One of those things is saved resources for the school tripper, and to adapt and adjust based on what schools are open and where the biggest need is, based on what is finalized and changed. But then there were resources set aside. But we could pull back on the hourly. And the anecdotal conversations I had was like, I don't need to be out till 10 p.m. Like, yeah, pull it back if you can give me the 4 back. And
Right,
so
nobody needs to go to court at 10 p.m.
Right, and the Route 4, we did look into those destinations. They are only operational weekdays. There is a physical therapy that's open like from 9 to 1 on Saturdays, so maybe the Route 4 is just a weekday service, and then the rest of the system operates 7 days a week. Just hypothetical thoughts.
And that would be zero budget impact?
And that would be within our ability to do that, to give the 4 back and scale back the operational hours and make it maybe just a weekday service.
Well, that's great and responsive on the part of staff, if that's indeed what you're...
I think that we've talked quite a bit based on the anecdotal conversations we had. It's very loud and clear where the pain points are of this plan. So we've started that conversation immediately. How do we adapt? What can we do? What are the changes? We started those conversations before this even went out to public, but we did have to have somewhere to start so that we could engage in conversation. And if the public said, no, please, can I have service till 10 p.m.? I need that connection on Express. That's way more important to me. I'm happy to do that walk more. Then we were able to have somewhere to gauge and somewhere to pull. Did we get it right? These concepts were not intended to come out and be adopted by everyone and happy at the beginning. It was to engage conversation and see how our community feels about these changes and where did we get it. That was just the data. That's just a bunch of numbers, a bunch of heat maps. It really is important that the people who are writing the system have a say. And there was a lot of rumors that they already said that they're doing this. We don't have a say. That's not true. And I can tell that to people, but I will prove it to them when we take the revisions to the board. And it clearly shows what people were saying and how we revised the concepts based on that. So I'll show them, I promise.
Yeah, I will say that I appeared at the Benicia City Council and talked about the prospective changes to the yellow line. And Mayor Young, who was on the governing board at the time, maybe still is, hastened to point out that those were just draft. But I kind of doubt we're going to get much different. And I have to say, I wasn't crazy about taking a cab from BART at 10 p.m., but so be it.
Well, definitely kudos to you, Mandy, and the team. That it looks like the outreach was really extensive. You guys put in a lot of work to get meaningful input, so that's terrific. And also, I'd love to hear that you are actually taking the input into account, because sometimes, it is kind of checking a box and people think they're talking, but nobody's listening. So it's great to hear that you're incorporating some of those comments and suggestions. So
Yes, totally.
fantastic. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, are there any public comments on this item?
Thank you,
There's
Madam.
oh,
Thank you, Madam Chair. No speakers on this item at this
Okay.
time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Manny.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to second what you said, too often government puts out a proposal and it's set in stone even though they don't admit it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm really happy to hear that we're not that way.
I agree. Definitely. Okay. Well,
Madam Chair,
we'll move to the next informational item.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
hi, darling. I would like to know, Mandy, do the,
Oh, see, she's.
oh, no, you have people that are doing surveys. Are they riding on these buses?
I'm going to re-ask you your question. The people that are filling out the surveys, are they writers?
No, the ones that's conducting who should do this and who should do
Oh,
that.
so Soltrans staff is on board the buses, handing out QR codes and websites, asking the public and the riders for feedback. No one is on board surveying.
What you call them?
Outreach?
Yeah, that's it. I haven't seen your mom. Sorry about that. The contractor. Is the contractor on these buses riding up and down to see how people feel about the route itself and how people are, how they react when they get off here? Oh, I'm glad this bus route is closer to my stop instead of me walking all the way down there.
No, the marketing and outreach, I wanted to own it and staff do it. I did not have the consultants. That was not a part of their scope to do the marketing and outreach for this. I wanted internal staff who are intimately familiar with the routes, with the riders, with our service area, with our community. I wanted to own that and do that marketing and outreach. So our consultant, that was not part of their work scope.
Okay, well, what about, you said something about the college being on the chopping block?
No, Solano Community
College in
College.
Vallejo. Solano College in Vallejo. Did you say that was on the chopping block?
That is one of the concepts in order to get the 7A and 7B into a 1-hour loop. One of the concepts is to not serve the college directly. The ridership there is very, very low post-pandemic. So that was a way to get the 2 7s into a hourly loop. If we hear that is a huge destination, that's something we can revise. But Solano Community College is working internally on a shuttle service between their campuses, Fairfield, Vacaville, and the Vallejo campus.
Okay, so is a shuttle service, if they're going Vacaville and Fairfield and Vallejo, what about the people that in the surrounding areas that are trying to go to college and they can't afford a Uber or Lyft and that kind of stuff, and they're, the lower income? They're just trying to go to school and get an education.
Sure. So the proposed concept of the 7A and 7B, that's the closest stop is about a 10-minute walk to the campus.
Okay, and about that 10-minute walk, some of the routes that you're proposing, I think about grandmothers and grandfathers and people with disabilities. If you take this bus stop away, and they have to walk 10 more minutes, and it took them 5 minutes just to get out their front door. How are they going to get there? And what, if they're not signed up with paratransit, they're going to, by the time they get there, they're going to have to wait another hour because they're so exhausted from trying to get there to the next destination.
Sure. So that's the whole premise of this this COA is our ability to increase frequency, but then we have to scale the system back a little bit. So that's kind of the whole conversation we're asking the community. If we increase this frequency and we make this service every 30 minutes, but we have to scale it back to get it within that hour, and we can't hit the college, it has low ridership, it's not being utilized productively currently, is that a fair trade-off? A lot of conversations out in the community. I've been given a lot of information about paratransit. It's quite alarming how many people don't know that that's an option for them. Currently, that service isn't changing. So there's going to be probably, if this is approved and moved forward, another outreach about what are the alternative resources and how do you get signed up for paratransit if you have a cognitive or physical disability that prevents you from using the fixed route system. But that's kind of the whole premise of the COA is we have limited resources. In order to adapt, we have to scale back. We can't make every single person happy. We can't fit every single person's need, but we can be using our resources better to provide a better service, a more frequent service to our community. And that's the big overarching question about this is that the right step forward?
Okay, I appreciate that. So now about the 4. You mentioned possibility Monday through Friday. I like that. Now that I like. Now, what about on Saturday, it just runs not every hour, every other hour?
That's feedback that we could take back to the board once you guys see the revised plan. I would have to dig deep into what resources were available.
I came up with that because you said there was a therapy that opened up that was open from 9 to 1. So if it was every other, by the time they get their breath back from, therapy works you out, they'll have enough strength to get down to the bus and make their destination,
We can take that feedback back.
Also, the 10, doesn't the 10 or 11 come up that way?
Correct, yeah. So that the Napa Vine will still provide service along that Tuolumne corridor.
Okay, now that will help out going to the hospital, but not going down to, well, there's no court on Saturday, so that's...
Yeah, correct, yeah. And it is only one direction.
And that would suffice right there. Okay. Was there another cutback like Glen Cove?
Correct, yep. Yeah, Glen
Okay.
Cove, that portion of Glen Cove was on as a concept of realigning the Route 3 to take over portions of the Route 8. So I met with the Glen Cove community, went to their meeting. Again, another underutilized stops. Resources could be put into the system and better utilized.
We used to live in Glen Cove, and let me tell you, we way over here, and the bus stop way over there, and we trying to hurry up and get over there to the bus and flagging him down so we can get a stop. And it's crazy. And I'm like, I just think about the people that live all the way to the end, that they have no transportation. They can't afford a Lyft or Uber. And if they're going to get some groceries or something from Safeway, that's all they can do is they can take the bus up, go to Safeway, and come back down and get the bus. But if the bus not there anymore, that's an additional cost. And if they're already struggling, that means that they're cutting back about $25 on their meals just to get to and from the store. I know that's not what Soltrans is about.
Right, but while we're offering the service right now, they're not using it. Am I not correct?
Correct, yeah. So there are trade-offs and there's tough decisions. I've been transparent this whole time. There's going to be some very tough decisions that have to be made. We've talked to all these community partners, community leaders, community meetings. I hope there isn't a rock that I didn't uncover, but there definitely is going to be tough decisions that have to be made. And if there are those people that are living in Glen Cove that need that, I would hope that they had responded to the survey so that we can look into that and revise the plan as needed.
Okay, thank everyone so much. Let's appreciate that presentation, Mandy.
Thank you.
Chair?
Move to the, yes.
Just since I have texted Audra, I have not heard back. Mandy does have to leave by 6:45 at the latest, and we probably will close by then, but I would like to suggest that the committee consider the action item before she has to leave.
Absolutely. Do we have a motion to move to the action item? I said chair's not here.
I'll move. I mean, our meetings aren't very long. I'm kind of surprised, but so moved.
Second.
Okay, so the amended agenda has been, it passes, so we will move directly to the action item.
But only because I saw a picture of you riding the buses and polling
And it
people.
was so cute. Okay, so the item is action item 5A, draft fiscal year 2025-26 performance goals. It states that Beth Cranda is going to provide the presentation.
It's me again.
Okay.
I'm filling in for Beth. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you so much, Mandy. We'll turn
Yes.
it over to you.
So at this time last year, we brought you the draft system, the goals for the agency. This year's goals are in your packet. You'll see they're very similar to last year's goals, and I'm just going to go through each of the goals and kind of summarize and show you where the changes are and the differences are and how kind of the agency's pivoting this year as compared to last year and what happened with the goals last year. So our service goal is the same as it was last year. Last year we really worked very, very hard with the contractor to get the service up to standard, reducing missed trips, on-time performance, and Ron has been to these meetings and telling you all the things that he's doing to ensure that. So basically, this year's goal is to maintain all the work that he's done and make sure that we are continuing to hit that standard of our performance goals. On this year, kind of spilling over from last year, is the comprehensive operational analysis, where the whole analysis will be pretty much done the beginning of fiscal year 26. What the goal of next year will be implementing whatever the plan is and starting the 27 fiscal year off with new service that really responds to what our community needs and the new travel patterns we're seeing. Goal 2 is pretty much the same as well. Our marketing and branding will continue to be the same. The change you'll see on there is Objective C. We do have to do a short-range transit plan this year, and that's a plan that we do, and we turn it into MTC, who is our regional oversight umbrella, and that kind of sets the tone of what our resources are, what our budget is, what our plans are, where are we as an agency, and where do we see ourselves in the short term, and then we reference it when we're applying for grants and funding sources and partnerships, and it's kind of our little book to turn in to prove that we do have the foresight and everything that we're doing and applying for funding-wise, planning-wise, kind of is coupled here and is already laid out in this plan. And Myron is our new analyst, and he's going to be leading our short-range transit plan this year. Very excited for him. Okay, goal 3 is a little bit different. It's about the same, but we, as an agency, are really going to have to concentrate and monitor and look at and watch and really keep a close pulse on what's happening with this administration. You know, I can't remember if at the last meeting we talked about some of our funding being frozen based on the administration wanting to review grants that were already approved and already allocated to us. There was a huge freeze, and our buses were involved with that. I believe that's been released at this time, but we're going to have to really work with our legislative partners and make sure that we're monitoring and we're pivoting and really keeping a pulse on that because it is our main source of funding. Number 4 is our capital projects in IT. One big project that's falling off this list, and I'm so excited about, is our electric infrastructure, which we're cutting the ribbon on Friday. I hope that you all will be there to help celebrate with us. So that project it's nearly complete. It will be complete for Friday, but there are some loose ends that need to finish up before we can fully charge the buses. But that will be done before this fiscal year ends. So we have some new projects on there, basically maintaining what we have. We don't have any big capital projects for fiscal year 26, but in the next goal, I'll be talking to you what we will be doing to prepare for more capital projects. Goal 5 is kind of monitoring and updating our 2040 zero emissions fleet. We've checked the box on our local service. Our Gilligs are getting replaced with all battery electric buses, and we have the charging infrastructure to charge them. The system that we currently have and the system that we've planned out in the COA all adapt and have the ability to be utilized with an all-electric fleet, so we're there. The technology for our express service, battery electric doesn't have the capacity currently to fully provide service on our highway buses and really take on those miles and those speeds. So we kind of will be monitoring, looking, and engaging with a consultant to look at hydrogen or other technologies out there that we can transition when it becomes time, our express fleet to something that is zero emission so that we can adapt to the 2040 mandate goal. And then one of the big goals on there as well is working with workforce development, partnering with colleges. I know all the small agencies, any funding, there was a percentage that had to go with some sort of workforce development, some sort of training component. So all of our grants and any other funding that we've received, there is a component to that, and that's a huge goal for Soltrans this year, is engaging with I think all the small operators are working. I think they were exploring Napa Community College and maybe somewhere in Sonoma to see if there was a program for maintenance and understanding the new electrical infrastructure of the buses so that we have the technology and the workforce to work on those buses and understand all their components. As we transition, they'll need to transition as well. That's it. 5 goals this year.
Wonderful.
And I'm happy to take any questions.
Yes. Do we have any PAC member comments or questions? Yes. Dan.
Hi. So I appreciate that you mentioned that we do this annually and made some comparisons to our past goals and performance. And I did notice some other changes that you mentioned, although, you mentioned, probably the key one, which is the short-term transportation plan. Goal 1 and Goal 2 are pretty much the same. Goal 3 last year had creating a technical advisory committee and considering amendments to the JPA. So I'm kind of curious the status of that.
That was in response to the countywide 2030 committee that the whole Solano County, all the mayors sat on that committee, and nothing came out of that committee that directed Soltrans to move forward with those things.
Okay, so we made a couple of changes because of that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that sounds understandable.
Thank you.
To Goal 4, we added develop a fleet management plan, which certainly seems like a good idea. But Goal 5 had something, a change that concerned me. We had the basically same goal last year, but whereas before we had an objective of developing infrastructure, contribute to sustainability, and that one has been replaced by engage a consultant to assist in updating roadmaps. And that is somewhat of a concern for me, given that we are such a small agency and we are strapped right now. I realize these are kind of in-house decisions that you guys have to be made as to what we can do with in-house staff, but because it's kind of, doesn't seem like a front burner urgent goal, I'm a little, I have some trepidation about, approving a set of goals that says we're gonna hire a consultant to do this new chore. So, I'm interested in feedback about that. We did drop, and in addition, and for Goal 5, we did drop an objective that was add power resiliency to the operations and maintenance infrastructure. So if you can comment on those.
Yeah, I don't think I did a good job explaining your first one. We dropped now I got my pages all mixed up. So we dropped the infrastructure because that project will be complete by the end of this fiscal year. So that dropped off because it's done. There'll be a ribbon on Friday. And then the engage with the consultant. So last year we purchased the land adjacent to 1850. That lot.
Adjacent, yes.
That consultant, updating the roadmap. I explained it a little bit previously, and I'll try to do a better job, and Christina will probably be watching me and rolling her eyes right now. So we don't have the staff capacity to do a site plan for that site. We don't have the resources or staff ability to know if hydrogen is even an option. So that's where a consultant would come from. And if I'm understanding it correctly, we would engage with a grant for that, or we would be really aggressive looking for funding to pay for that, consultant or someone to look into that. But we have to do it because our Solano Express fleet will have reached its useful life in 2032. So we have to have a plan into transitioning those buses before they reach their useful life, and what would be the technology. So we do have to start that conversation, but I believe that Christina is going to be writing a grant or finding some funding, and I'm sure if it wasn't attained this fiscal year, it would roll over to the next fiscal year. I'm not presenting on her budget, but Christina does an amazing job finding funding, using funding, changing funding, moving funding. Our fiscal cliff has been postponed because of her, where other agencies' fiscal cliff is just around the corner. She is very good at her job in finding that, and I believe that is part of the plan of doing that.
Glad to hear it, because we can't afford it.
Yeah, we don't have. Nope, and I can't do it.
That's it.
Okay, I think, Tom, you're next.
Okay, thank you. On Goal A2, you have increased on-time performance, which I think is good that you have it in the goals and objectives. But I know I brought this up last year, that it seemed to me that missing 20% is still a little bit too much. And I would recommend that you try to shoot for something a little higher in your goal, maybe even 85%. I don't know what the service industry standard is, but I'd recommend that you shoot for something higher than 80%. You think about yourself as a rider, and on-time performance is probably one of the most important components. Can you tell me what the definition is of being on time? How late, how
Sure.
early?
It's 0 minutes early, so the bus does not leave any minutes early, and it's 5 minutes late. So if the bus shows up between 0 and 5 minutes, it's on time. Anything after 5 minutes, it's considered late.
Yeah, so that gives a big amount of lead time, or variation time. So you'd think they'd be able to do a little bit better percentage-wise on that. The other thing is that there was no mention on the service objectives for missed trips. And looking at the document, there were 60 missed trips out of 12,000, which doesn't seem like a lot. But if you're the person standing there and having to wait another hour, it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. So first of all, I wanted to ask, are the missed trips because of staffing issues?
Not currently, knock on wood. We've got our staffing back up to a pretty good place. Missed trips are caused by buses late in traffic, pulled out into the weigh scales. That's an issue that we're working really hard to try to bypass, but
I thought that was almost resolved.
no, it is not resolved.
No?
No, unfortunately,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
know
if we get pulled out and we'd have to do a full inspection, that's a missed trip. If someone calls out very late and we don't have someone to replace them immediately, that would result into a missed trip.
Well, do you know how many of the scale diversions were in that 60?
I don't know that answer, but Ron is tracking that and following that very closely, so I can have Angel bring that back to you.
So I know that you were working with the state legislature and trying to solve that problem on an exemption.
Yes.
So I'd still be willing to help with that
Thank you.
if you guys need it.
I know, yes, we would
So-
appreciate that.
With that said, I would like to suggest that missed trips be another goal and objective, and that, I don't know what standard you want to put in there, but there's probably something reasonable that you could shoot for that at least would be something you could track for positive performance.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I would say, Richard, are you? We should hear your comments first, because I was going to offer a motion.
Okay, goal 4C2, investigate opportunities, particularly those involving AI, to integrate, coordinate, or make public operations information more accessible. Could you flesh that out a bit as far as where you see that type of technology, AI, or artificial intelligence, how it would improve service for Soltrans?
I believe that's speaking to, this is BC's goal, our dispatching and using technologies so that if a bus is 80% charged and it has to go on a 400-mile route, there is a portion of math that needs to be done by the dispatch to say, this bus can handle that block and run that service within the capacity of what it's charged at this time. There are some AI technologies that we can have on for our dispatch that does that math for them and can say, this bus check, this bus check, this bus check, this bus could do half, this bus is very, very close, don't do it, or only an emergency. So there are some technologies in the background operations that takes kind of some of the pressure off dispatch and off of operations and does some of that thinking for them and then gives them the results of that right in front of them so that they can quickly execute and send buses out or change things out.
So we don't have any of that right now, and you're looking into it.
Correct, yeah.
It's too early to have a timeline in terms of when some of what exists now would be eventually integrated into the operations at the 1850 Broadway?
Correct, yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm just going over meetings that I've heard. But because the charging solution isn't turned on, the infrastructure isn't turned on completely yet, there are some things and it needs to be operational before we can see if other technologies can talk to each other and plug into each other and work well together. If BC's watching, she's probably, Christina and BC are so mad at me right now. But there are AI technologies and there are programs that we can use that probably would take another staff member or two staff members to do that work for us and do that math to then be able to let a bus out for that work for that day.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
I know that she's very ingrained in what technologies exist, but which ones are the right fit for us, we don't know that at this time.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Thank you. Oh, and I'm sorry, I think, you wanted to go last?
Well, yeah, I'm going to offer a motion, but unless somebody else offers one first, but Joe, I get the opportunity.
Yes, please, Mary McDonald.
Hi, I don't know if, oh, okay. Excuse me for being late, Audra McDonald. City of Vallejo. And I wanted to ask about Goal 3, A2, the partnerships. I know there was a lot of time and energy invested in supporting youth engagement, and just wanted to hear what kind of feedback and what kind of data we got in response to that investment.
Yes, so we have been working with MIT, some students that have volunteered their time. When you walked in today, I was like, oh my gosh, I owe her an email. We've been working with you and your students. So we are working with the students. I think I'd like to do a little bit more, and that's why it's on this goal as well. There's some more time, especially as we've just been partnering with the school district a little bit more. They're going to come present at our board meeting in May. So I think there's more that could be done with the youth. Every kid I saw during this outreach period, I tried to engage with them and really instill with them that this is your system, this is your future, so please, your voice is probably the most important one. Not perfect, but definitely steps forward in engaging with the youth, but there's more that I would like to accomplish. Once we get the COA done, I think I can really invest more time in that.
And more so, like, is there tangible evidence that the investment is productive, is showing results?
Yeah.
Better.
Last month, the month of March, the youth ridership was over 200% increased.
Excellent. Okay. That's
Where
all right.
last year we saw a decrease in March ridership as just a seasonal trend, spring break. This year the line was out of control, and I believe it's in your packet, a couple more slides. It's a non-discussion item, but
Thank you so much.
very happy with the youth ridership.
Thank you. Okay, Member Smith.
Okay, yeah. So the action that they're asking for us is to receive this report, and I think that's easily done enough. But I was impressed by what Tom said, and I think that our committee should go on record as supporting those two suggestions of amendments. So I would motion that we receive the report, but recommend the addition of a missed trips objective, not entirely a goal, but an objective at least, and consider also shooting higher for our
On-time performance.
on-time performance, thank you. Shooting for at least 85 for our on-time performance.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Madam Clerk, please start the vote.
Yeah, I can't see how to do the, oh, there it is, I see it.
Pardon me,
Yes.
she's not sitting at the terminal, so you'll have to do a voice vote.
Yes.
Okay,
Easy enough.
do I do that?
No, she
That's me,
pulls.
right?
And then she also wanted to speak before you guys made the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Cynthia would like to add to that before we make the motion.
Please, thank you.
So I agree with what you just mentioned. By the way, what are you comparing the on time to? So, for example, paratransit is, they have, I think they're 95%. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm working.
Excuse me.
Paratransit has a 95% on-time performance. So, are
90.
you comparing the 80% to the paratransit or 80% to itself?
So the on-time performance, they're separate. We have a goal for the local system, there's a goal for the express system, and there's a goal for the paratransit, ADA paratransit system. Typically, industry standard-wise, your local service should have a higher on-time performance. It doesn't have as many obstacles, red lights, a little bit of traffic, where your express system, one accident on 80 kind of derails our whole on-time performance. So it typically has, the express highway buses typically have a little bit of a lower standard requirement of their on-time because they're on the freeway, and the on-time performance is more controlled by how the freeway is flowing, where the traffic is, if there's an accident, other things. And then paratransit, because that's a negotiated time and scheduled by the operations staff, should have a higher on-time performance because we committed to doing that time.
That's a plausible answer. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Now, have you ever thought about the paratransit being electrified?
So I believe that there's been quite a bit of research and staff time looking into that. Currently, there are not electric paratransit buses that have the capabilities and ramps and abilities that we need for our paratransit service. So that technology, I believe they kind of have standardized the local buses. The express buses, as I said earlier, don't have the battery capacity to do the highway. That technology doesn't exist. And I believe that kind of the industry paratransit buses is kind of third on the list as people are transitioning their services, that they've kind of standardized the local, we got it, our local system is transitioned. I think the industry is going to look at those highway buses and how, is it hydrogen? We have the CNG buses, that's not fully zero emission. But the battery technology, the electrification, the capacity just doesn't exist on our for the highway buses currently, and there are not options for paratransit right now.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
But we will when they do.
And I believe the motion and second still stand. So I'd like to begin the roll call vote. Adjua? Yes. Tom?
Aye.
Ginger?
Yes.
Richard?
Aye.
Dan?
Yes.
And Cynthia?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right. And thank you again, Mandy, for that presentation. All right. Let's move now to, back to our informational discussion items. So the next informational item for discussion is 6B, System Performance Report, and Myron will actually be making a presentation for this one.
Hi everyone, this is the System Performance Report for March 2025. And we're going to start off by looking at the productivity. So we'll be discussing the trips and hour-based metrics and the ridership and passenger metrics. So on this slide, we're seeing that the ridership for the local routes in March have increased on pretty much every line except for the 4 and 5. But some of the most notable ones here are primarily on the school trippers, so the 15, 17, and 38, which can be attributed to the Youth Ride Free programs. And on our express route, every route has seen an increase in ridership. For our ridership year to date, as seen in the last two slides, our ridership is doing overwhelmingly well across all of our different modes. And so far year to date, ridership has increased by 10% on the local routes, 77% on school routes, 6% on the express routes, and saw an 8% decrease on the 88 paratransit route compared from last fiscal year. And looking at the trending ridership by mode, March saw a 11% increase from last fiscal year. So this fiscal year is going to be the one in the orange, and last year is in blue. And for our school ridership, we saw an increase of 95% from last fiscal year, again, attributed to the Youth Ride Free program. On our express ridership, we saw a 9% increase from last fiscal year. And on 88 paratransit, we saw a 1% decrease from last fiscal year. And we noticed that, oh, go back, please. Thank you. And we are figuring that from this, there's not really a seasonal trend for 88 paratransit, as we can see in this fiscal year, and even in last fiscal year. But we're hoping to work closely with our contractors to figure out more about the situation and dive deeper to figure out what we can do to monitor this data.
So we don't know of a reason for that yet?
We do not yet, but we'll work with them to figure out what that might be. So here we have our monthly productivity, and productivity is calculated as the passengers per revenue hour. And productivity in March increased for all modes, with local at 8%, school at 64%, express at 3%, and ADA at 25%. So across the board, we're doing really well on our productivity. And to go more in depth on our express productivity, we have our, again, productivity, which is passengers over revenue hour, and our load, which is the passengers that can be taken on the capacity of that route for any given trip in that month. And the industry standard pretty much for express is 12, and as we can see here, the only one that meets that is the red line. But we're hoping that with the COA, we can have a lot more recommendations that can increase our productivity for the other express routes. And here's our missed trips for the month of March. We increased by 15% from last month at 52 to 60 missed trips. And this totals to about 0.005% of missed trips. But again, sorry. But this is significantly lower from before, where we were seeing missed trips in the hundreds. But this is still not low enough. We can go a lot better, and we're hoping to work with the contractor again to make sure that we can try to achieve 0 or at least a few missed trips. And next we'll be talking about the performances, so that's the on-time performance and the complaints. So on-time performance has generally been progressing at an upward trend. Local and express OTP saw a slight decrease, and ADA saw a slight increase, all from last month. For express in particular, this is a decrease as a result of late arrivals on the 82 due to construction on the I-80, as well as several car accidents that led to lane closures. And here we have our trending verified complaints, and verified refers to any complaints that have evidence in data or in video cameras. And in the month of March, we saw 31 complaints, which mainly came in the form of driver complaints, missed or late buses, and vehicle maintenance. And lastly, we have our safety metrics. And in the month of March, we saw 3 additional accidents, 2 of which were non-preventable and 1 was preventable. And preventable indicates that it is a Soltrans vehicle hitting something, and non-preventable means that something hit a Soltrans vehicle. And that concludes the assessment performance report for March 2025.
All right, thank you, Myron. Do we have any PAC member comments?
I have one.
Yes, please.
Thank you for the presentation. It's pretty obvious that complaints have been reduced by 50% since April.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what they were in March, but I'll give you guys credit for that. I know you have verified and unverified, so that's trending in the right direction. 50% reduction is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to make one other suggestion on the punctuality, on missed trips. It might be helpful to you to work on trying to achieve a differentiation between preventable and unpreventable missed trip. Because like the scale, that's unpreventable. A mechanical problem on the bus. So if you're tracking preventable missed trips, then you have something you can measure and work on.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, any more comments? Any more comments? That's interesting. I also had a sort of comment about the missed trips. I know that has happened to me where there's been a missed trip, but I was able to see on the app, one of the apps or whatever, that it was going to be missed. There was like an alert that this trip will be missed. And so I was like, oh, great, I'm not even going to that stop. I'm going to go a different way. So I'm just wondering if there's a way to maybe also track that as far as making sure you're providing those alerts for the riders, because I think that really helps. If you know, riders can take an alternate route, they can. Like, I was actually able to take the blue line instead of the yellow line. So I was like, great, I won't even wait for the yellow line because it's not coming.
I do know that Ron does track the messaging that goes out and compares it with the missed trips.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
our goal is to put it out at least 15 minutes before, as long as we know. Sometimes that information doesn't get out to the public in time for that, but the goal, our agency goal, is 15 minutes prior to the bus's trip departure, that the public is aware that that is going to be a missed trip.
That's fantastic. That's good that you're tracking that too. Great, thank you. Okay. More comments? All right. Well, now we move to the non-discussion items. The contractor performance.
Chair,
Oh, yes.
you've got to ask for public comment.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you. Are there any public comments on the previous report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No public comments at this moment in time.
Thank you so much, Manny. Thank you.
But we do have members of the public, it seems like.
I'm sorry?
We do have members of the public,
We
I'm
do
not
have members
sure.
of the public, so, but no comments.
No comment?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to the non-discussion items. We have the contractor performance update. Do any PAC members wish to pull this item for discussion?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, great. We're going to pull contractor performance update. And please, if you have any
Okay,
comments.
sure. Well, first, I want to ask, I don't want to speak out of hand, but is there any representation from Transdev here today? Okay, so I realize that Mr. Robinson appeared before the governing board, but I would say it's kind of disappointing that they couldn't show when an update on their performance is being given. That personally disappoints me. And just as a side note, I'm always happy that we have added the glossary in the beginning of our agendas, but there's a bunch of acronyms in this report that are not in our glossary. Specifically, MDT, OTP, PMI, even Transdev. We don't really get to find out what it stands for. I mean, I think that they probably have a longer name than that. I could be wrong. So anyway, yeah, I would like, if possible, those acronyms, if we're going to use them, add them to our glossary at the beginning of our agenda. I think OTP is on-time performance probably, but I don't know what the other two are, MDT or PMI. And like I said, I mean, it'd be nice if Transdev was here to at least answer questions.
Thank you.
Good,
Thank you so
I
much.
can answer that if it's okay. I put it out a little bit late, and I apologize for that. However, because the contractor performance is under the jurisdiction of staff and the board, it went to the board, and the presentation that they provided is already available, and I sent everyone the link. So,
I did see that belated link.
oh, good.
Have we ever met Mr. Robinson? Has he come to any of our meetings?
He's brand new, so no, not.
Yeah, okay. Well, the other guy never came either.
Right. I was going to suggest, I agree with you, it'd be nice to meet some of these people. I don't know if that's just a recommendation we can.
Well, it's not a formal recommendation, but staff can certainly pass that on.
Thank you. Great points. And any more comments about this one? No comments about this item? Okay. Are there any public comments on this item?
I don't have any members of the public who have signed up to speak on this item.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let's move to agency updates. That's also a non-discussion informational item. Do any PAC members wish to pull this item for discussion? Looks like no. Okay, and do I need to ask, are there any public comments on this item? If we didn't pull it?
If we have no one waiting in Zoom?
No members of the public currently signed up for this item.
Okay, great, thank you, thank you.
I guess I'll cheer that this particular report has parentheses explaining acronyms that are not in our glossary, such as the Golden State Risk Management Authority. You just didn't throw GSRMA at us and stuff.
Nice, nice. Thank you. Okay, let's move to the financial forecast for fiscal year 2025-26 through 2034-35. Do any PAC members wish to pull this item for discussion? Okay, are there any public comments on this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No members of the public have currently signed up for this item.
Okay, thank you. And moving to our last non-discussion item, it's proposed fiscal year 2025-26 operating and capital budget. Do any PAC members wish to pull this item for discussion? No, okay. Are there any public comments on this item?
No speakers on this item at this current time, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Manny. With no further comments, this meeting is adjourned. Yay.
All right, good job.
Yeah, made it through. Made it through my second. I made it through.